Welcome everybody. So I'm going to start the Power Connection live stream again. We had a technical failure before, but now I'm going to start again. Hopefully you enjoy this, and if some of you are there, you can let me know if you can hear me before I even start the actual broadcast. So just let me know if you can see this. Everybody, so I'm going to start the Power Connection live stream again. We had a technical failure before, but now I'm going to start again. Hopefully you enjoy this, and if some of you are there, you can let me know if you can hear me before I even start the actual. And hey, we are live. I can hear myself. That's great. Welcome everybody to the Power Connection broadcast. It's my daily broadcast coming to you live from Toronto, Ontario, home of the Raptors, NBA playoff champions. And today we're going to talk about employee engagement. And I also share my new little cover photo, which hopefully you like. I'll show it to you again. See, there it is. Whoa, Power Connection channel. Pretty cool, eh? That's very nice, very pretty. And we'll go back to what we're talking about. So last time we had a bit of a technical error. Sorry about that. But now we are ready to engage. So if you are joining in now and you're listening in, comment below. Let me know where you're from. Where are you listening from? North America, South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, Australia. You can also put questions down there, and questions about what we're going to talk about for employee engagement. If you want to tag somebody, tag them. If you want to share this on your own page, great. If you like what you're hearing, you can like, heart, love, light bulb, smiley face, all that kind of stuff. And we're going to start by actually, and the topic today is 3 ways in which employees disengage, right? So hopefully the audio is now working for everybody. Yay, Douglas says yes, and Yvette says hi. That's great. Audio is now working. I'm very happy about that. So, and again, I broadcast weekly, usually 3 days a week now, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, normally at 8:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want, if you want someone to me to interview, I will also put them in there. So tag them below, influencers, thought leaders in their field. I'm happy to do that. And it looks like Steve's from USA, Yvette's from Manhattan. That's great. Douglas from Delray, Florida. Wonderful. Long Island, Elizabeth, thank you. Welcome for joining us. And I'd love to hear from you. What are some things that make you disengage in the workplace? What are some things that make you engage in the workplace? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, and you can comment below in terms of what those are. I'm going to start by sharing you a little story. And before I do that, some more logistics. Again, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm normally here in the morning. I'm doing this as a test run for that cover page that you just saw. In case you missed it, I'm going to show it to you again. There it is. Oh, yeah, isn't that nice? Power Connection, my live stream chat sponsored by DYPB and Social Live. All right, so that's kind of cool. Hope you enjoy that. All right, so let's get started. So you guys can answer the question, what makes you disengage in the workplace? What makes you engage in the workplace? I'm going to share a little story. So when I was actually as an engineer, my first job outside of university and college was I was a design engineer at Bombardier. And one of the things I noticed was that we worked in front of a computer all day, and then we went for lunch and our break, but we did nothing else outside of the workplace. It was actually, I felt like really disconnected because I sat in front of a computer all day talking to nobody, and then at lunch, okay, fine, we talked for a bit, but there was no common sense of like camaraderie. And I know other departments had a softball team or a volleyball team, and they actually went up for drinks. I'm like, we don't do that. That's kind of a bummer. And I see right now Douglas saying that toxic bosses and narcissists are an issue for workplace engagement. Totally agree. We'll dive into that in a moment. Continue the story. So I'm working as an engineer, and I'm feeling disconnected, not really engaged in the workplace. And here's where something really magical happened. There was I used to go often for lunch, and I tried different restaurants around the area, take out, sit in, whatever. And there was this Caribbean place that had this amazing jerk chicken, and I really liked it, and I never had one before. And one of my friends was Caribbean. He said, "Bobby, you gotta try this." So I tried it. It was really good. And then pretty soon, instead of us going to the restaurant, we would actually order takeout and bring it in and meet up, like 4 or 5 of us. And pretty soon, word spread that this jerk chicken place was amazing. And they had jerk chicken, and they had goat curry, and they had oxtail, and they had noodles, and they had chicken curry, and people loved it. So pretty soon, he would order from this place, and people would go pick it up. And next thing you know, we had 50 people all gathering in one gigantic office space, eating jerk chicken and curry and goat curry and oxtail gravy and all this kind of stuff.
And it became a really great bonding experience because we would laugh and we joke, and we all, every Friday was it was jerk chicken day, and everyone got really excited. It was jerk chicken day, and what was interesting was that it engaged us as employees. We were really happy and engaged, and there was a camaraderie there, and that prompted me to decide just to start a new initiative at the organization, which was called, I called it the De Havilland Social Club, and the idea was to go out for a drink once a month, play volleyball once a month, just do something fun and activity as people, so that we would be more engaged. And I find that to be a really helpful thing, and people really got into the idea of, okay, we need to be better engaged with the community, building a family atmosphere with all of us. And so that's kind of the story that started my whole kind of journey into focusing on employee engagement. And one of the things I can share with you right now is that I'm putting more attention and emphasis into my work as a speaker and as a consultant around employee engagement, because most of my work around personal branding, leadership, connection, teams, things like that relate to this, right? The idea that how do teams get along? How do we not work in silos? How do leaders and how do generations communicate with each other? How do leaders engage their employees? How do employees engage the leaders? How do we create better corporate culture? So all the stuff I'm doing around employee engagement as a speaker and a consultant, that's why this topic is so important to me. And that's why I want to hear from you in terms of what you think are some of the key things that make you engage in the workplace and also disengage. We have some people already saying stuff here. So we got here, Elizabeth is saying that there's no company culture, a lack of communication for management and having accountability. Okay. Adabukula is joining from Nigeria, which is great. Most people most frequently, Stephen Earl says, people most frequently disengage because they feel they have no value and are told to just do their job. They do not have a career with a path. They're not much more than a part of the watch, and they can be replaced with another for less money. And then Douglas says, best company, R.R. Donnelly, 1992, softball team, bowling, volleyball, older employees and mentors, acknowledgement by top management, see, remember my name 3 years after you met me. Yeah, these days managers are afraid of their employees. Okay, so really great stuff here around what is, both increasing your engagement and decreasing your engagement, right? So when I was working at Bombardier, one of the things that I found increased engagement was a sense of camaraderie and family, and we did that through the food and the bread we shared. We did that through the social activities outside of work. We even did that by having like a weekly scrum, just to get people on board and get people excited about what we're doing, what's going on, sharing a couple of wins with people, and that type of stuff really worked. So when you look at what are some of the things that people engaging, what's engaging them, not engaging them. First of all, what disengages people who feel disconnected from their boss, disconnected from their team, disconnected from the overall company. And so if you can create systems where you create that bond, that alignment with who we are and what we're doing, and whether it's the organization or the team or the boss or the group, these are things that are going to help you become a much better employee, but also more productive, you're more loyal, and you start to be someone that contributes more to the overall aspect and direction of the team or the organization. So that's where employee engagement becomes so important. And yeah, it does the same. Scrums work. Scrums are great. Just that great touching base with people. Because when I was working as an engineer, I spent 10 hours a day in front of the computer, not talking to anybody. And for someone like me who's very social, can you imagine how happy or miserable I was? I was probably miserable. And so it's important for us to understand that aspect of it. Now, I want to share, so for me, the one thing that talk about engagement is, creating a sense of community and family. And that comes from social interaction, food interaction, scrums. It comes from aligning our vision. It comes from listening to each other, that playing baseball, volleyball outside of work, trying to find ways to create that family so it's not just work, go home, work, go home. You want to kind of build that. So that's one thing I think is important to do. Now, what about you guys? What are some other things that you think are good to, have you seen some really good ideas out there of companies that are creating better employee engagement? Because I'd like to hear from you in terms of, what people are saying, only because I think it'd be a kind of really interesting idea. For me, I'll talk about another reason why employees disengage. Okay, so another reason why employees disengage is, oh, here we go. And actually, let's see. Gina says, some people will disengage. I'm reading on my phone, by the way. Some people will disengage when the social events end up not having connectedness to actually being respected on the job. Social event. That's a great point, Gina. Social events are fantastic. I love them. I ended up feeling disengaged at companies when I didn't see management being humble enough to encourage or participate. And who doesn't get to have opportunities they might like to try or ask to try? Full heart yet empty future. Wow, that's really powerful. Yeah, so I mean, if you're going to have engagement, you're going to have activities, and if you want to have people involved, the senior leadership team has to be involved too. They have to come up from the top. They have to visit the cubicles. They have to go around at the lunchrooms. If they just stay in their little office in their little castle and no one gets access, yeah, that doesn't. People want access to leaders. I think that really makes a big difference. So you have to create a culture where there's open door policy, that people feel everyone's accessible, and they're not hiding away in their closets or in their offices. So I think that's a really good point. Okay, so one reason that people disengage is because they don't feel a sense of community, a sense of family, a sense of team with the overall department, organization, and whatnot. So that's the first reason. Now, a second reason why people disengage in the workplace is something I was already alluded to, which is toxic culture. So if you have a bad boss, if you have a bad colleague, or even a bad subordinate that someone works for you, it can really disengage you. But the boss is probably the worst one. A boss or a director or a VP, if they are someone that's toxic and they're bullying, they don't listen to you, you are definitely eventually going to check out. And I can tell you, I've been in that situation where I had a boss who didn't understand me, didn't support me, didn't champion me, was always just cutting me up in front of people. And eventually, I just didn't care anymore. I was like, you know what, I don't really care to, I tried to talk to him. I tried to talk to HR. I tried to talk to, no one would do anything. And so eventually I began to check out. And your manager is like the most important person that should be there to champion you, to support you, to help you thrive, because ultimately your success is their success. But some managers out there feel threatened. They feel it's competitive, and if Bobby, they'll take credit for your work, or they'll say, oh, Bobby does really well and make me look bad, because, of course, that's wrong, but that's what they think. And so some toxic managers feel that way. And so to me, having a toxic workplace is one thing, which comes from culture, but more specifically, having a toxic person, particularly a manager or director that you work under and directly with, or someone on your team that you co-work with, that can really suck out the life out of you. And that creates that disengagement, which again, we don't want to, we want to try to avoid. And again, I think that that toxicity is something that makes people afraid. I once had a situation where, I was almost afraid to go to work, afraid to talk to my manager, and because I was afraid of him, and that fear created a culture of disconnect. It created a culture of distrust. It created a work environment that was something I didn't look forward to. And so, like many people, I was dispassionate about my job and coming to work, and I think it took away from a lot of what I could bring to the table. And that's why I began to shut down. People are like, Bobby, why are you so quiet? Like you're boisterous in the lunch place, but when you come to work, you're just so quiet. What's going on? And so for me, one of the things that happened was that disconnect with my boss, and feeling burdened upon and feeling very toxic. It made me want to check out. Now other people are sharing some great comments here, so let's take a look at some of them. Steve Earl says, teamwork is a corporate rise to lull you into doing more as part of something. But if your leader doesn't understand what your workload is, what you actually do, and keeps giving you more and threatens you if you try to tell them you are tapped out. Yeah, so there's an issue where we're all overwhelmed with work and our load and capacity. And so if your manager doesn't understand where that is, it can make you want to check out too. I totally agree with that, Steve. That's fantastic. And I'll give you another example. I was working again in corporate, and one of my bosses, he would say, okay, what are the projects you're working on? And I say, here are my 11 projects. And he would say, okay, these 3 are must for this week. These 4 are nice to have, and these 3, since you don't have enough time and capacity, let's just not worry about those for now. And that was, that was nice, because he was keeping it real, keeping it honest about what I could do and where my focus and priorities would be. And then another workplace I went, and this time they had so much work. It was crazy. I was working crazy long hours. And so I went to my boss and I said, listen, we need to prioritize like I did with my previous work. And I said, and she's like, how many projects do you have? I said, here they all are. I have 28 projects. That's a lot. And I said, what's a priority? She's like, everything's a priority. And I'm like, are you kidding me? If everything's a priority, first off, I'm already working 80 to 90 hours a week in this workplace. So are you telling me, like, even if I went up to 110 hours per week, which is, physically really difficult and impossible, I can't do all 28 projects with 100%, success. I can do some of them with success, and the other ones half-assed, and the other ones not at all. Or I can do all of them, but at a really low level. Is that what you want? Do you want like low quality? And she looked at me. She said, "All I can tell you is that everything's a priority." And then I found out later that her director said the exact same thing, which again doesn't help anybody, because what happened was the work suffered, and we were checking out. We didn't want to do the work, and so we're not engaged. So I think Steve makes a great point that your manager really has to understand what your capacity is. Douglas says, as a training person, I find that managers see training as a wall. They use it in place of their personal involvement in your development. Companies see e-learning as a responsibility of the employee alone. When managers are included in the mix, success happens, if not due to failure. So a really good point here by Douglas is the idea of training and personal development. I think that employers that invest in the development of their employees, both with technical skills and soft skills and their own personal development, coaching them through that process, people feel more engaged because they feel supported, they feel invested in, right? So you want to build that culture of, yes, we invest and support all our employees no matter what they're doing. And support comes in many ways, whether it's training or allowing you to telecommute, give flex hours, putting in a pool table, whatever you want. There are different ways to show that you support people. So I think that's a really good point. Like having a manager work with you to say, hey, listen, what kind of training development can we do? Work together as a team, not just like have an employee come up to you, oh, is it okay if I take this training? No, this is going to take away from work. Employee development actually adds and benefits every employee to be better at their work and to create more impact on the job and for the results for the team, for the business. So that investment is actually really important. Let's see, more stuff here. So Douglas says, Bobby, mention when managers ask you to lie or withhold the truth. Oh my God, yeah. So we got another. So Douglas mentions that when managers a manager tells you, okay, you know what? I don't want you to mention this thing to our director because of this. Now, this is a struggle. Where do you find the balance of what you share and what you don't share? Now, I think that there's certain things that, you may not want to be completely transparent about how you screwed something up or you failed something or there's some missing information. But then other times it becomes an ethical breach of violation, violation of ethics. So how do you then manage that? You have to make sure that you are keen and clear on not setting yourself up for that type of situation. So I think that's an important distinction, and that's where you want to talk to cross-functional teams, you want to talk to HR to make sure people are clear on how that works. And then yes, Elizabeth got it. The worst is when a manager sets you up for failure. And I've seen that time and time again. Managers will take away the credit from you. They'll put you on a path that doesn't go anywhere. And I've been there too. I was given a project where I was like, okay, this is clearly going nowhere. I said, this doesn't make any sense. And they said, no, you need to do this. And this is on you. And that's where they just shirk the responsibility off from themselves and said, no, it's on you. And so, I did the best I could, but I knew that by the end of it, this may not work out. And that was a really big challenge. Now, those who are on the call, or listen to this, what would you do if someone gives you a project set up to fail? Because I'd love to hear from you, because I'd love to know exactly kind of what you do about that. Steve says, companies typically have no management tool to measure who does what and how well. Politics and favors I know is first. I took a time management course which created A, B, and C projects as you were describing. Same thing happened. Everything was top priority, and I was told to get them done. How? Yeah. And that also is a good question about that makes people disengage is politics. If as soon as your manager says, or your coworker says, dude, you got to play the politics in the workplace, that's disengaging. The fact that there's politics you have to play. Like I knew some people in my second corporate job where they played the political game so well that they got all these opportunities. But then you're like, okay, but where's the work? Where's the competence? It felt unfair. It felt there was a bias. It felt that there was another manager who clearly, a director actually, two levels above me, and she clearly favored certain people over others. And she made that clear in the way she engaged people. She would go to their cubicle, she would talk to them, and everyone else didn't talk to them at all, not even once. It was really odd. So, it's important for us to, be aware, be mindful of these things, because people want to be invested in, they want to be supported. Steven says, I would let go by a company for doing too much. Right, and that's where culture comes in, right? Because culture is another culture can also drive disengagement. We talked about toxic cultures, but there's also cultures of people who overwork, like an overworking culture can drive people away. A culture of passive and not working hard and not challenging status quo, that also can drive people away, right? Because these people are not aligned. That's why personal branding is so important, because if you invest time and energy in knowing what your personal brand is, you'll see how your brand aligns with the organization, or at least can work to better align with the organization as you rise through the company. And that's why, knowing your brand and knowing the company's brand and finding finding the gaps to align better is going to make you a more productive and engaged employee of that organization. So that's where, again, the disconnect is. Now, and again, if you're liking what you're hearing, you can certainly like, clap, heart, the smiley face, all that kind of stuff, which is great. People are sharing some really great comments and questions around employee engagement. If you have questions, put them down below. Let us know what you're thinking. We're talking about the 3 key ways in which people disengage from their employers. The first one we talked about was not feeling part of the community, or feeling part of the family, or feeling part of the team. That's one. The second one we talked about was a toxic workplace culture, whether it's a toxic boss, a toxic colleague, or even just a toxic culture in general. This is something that a lot of the companies are now working towards improving in the workspace. And I think that's something that everyone needs to really, really figure out. And then what's the third one? What is the third way in which people disengage in the workplace? And again, these aren't the 3 only ways. These aren't the 3 only things that people disengage. I just wanted to share 3 today as part of this live stream, and then we'll do more on other days, or we'll interview people and see what they think. But from my standpoint, there's actually the 3 that kind of come to my mind as I'm talking about these things. That's why I'm not coming with 3. So the third one that I want to talk about is it's about challenging work. So having work that really challenges you and uses you in the best way possible, right? So if I'm doing work where the work is mind-numbing or doesn't use my skill sets, that's a problem. If I'm doing work where my skill set is, say, like in people, or it's in sales, or it's in connecting and in teaching and mentorship, but then I'm doing, let's say, a lot of data entry, I'm not going to be motivated, right? So a lot of people I find who are, and here's where the stats are crazy, right? 76% of people are dispassionate and unhappy with their jobs. Why? For a lot of reasons, but they ultimately end up doing stuff that they don't want to do, but they're too afraid to talk about it or reconfigure their workspace or their responsibilities so they can do less of that. Now, I'm not saying you take it down to 0. Like, yes, every one of us has to do data entry. Every one of us has to do bookkeeping, record keeping, things we may not like. Like, I'm not a big data entry, record keeping guy, but I understand the importance of it. But it shouldn't be the majority of my job. So one of my jobs ages ago when I was working in brand marketing was, I would say 65% of it was project management. And while I'm good at project management, it's not the main thing I really wanted to do. And so I really found that disillusioning at best, because it was just like, oh God, like all my time spent following up after people and make sure people do their stuff. And then when I worked at another place, that role was taken away from me. So project management was actually held by another department. And so I still did project management, but mostly it was like 10-15% of my job. And that was great, because I was like, okay, great. A few faults here and there, but now I have a team to follow up on the project management piece, and now I'm free to do the work that I want to do. And so for me, that was a great experience to find more alignment around my work and doing the stuff that I really want to do, which was more marketing, more meetings, more people connection, and more talking strategy. That's kind of what I did. So does anyone else have stories in terms of where they felt more engaged by a company and more disengaged by a company? Share it below. If you like what you're hearing, love, tap, heart, all that kind of stuff. Tag people, join the conversation. I'm doing stuff, so typically the Power Connection channel, we are now going to be doing this 3 days a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's going to be my commitment to moving forward. I will try to do more interviews now. So I'm going to try to interview twice a week, and once a week just be me talking about a topic that around employee engagement, or personal branding, leadership, career development, things like that, public speaking, whatnot. So if you have questions, comments, comment below. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me just show you the beautiful. Here's the beautiful thing I've created. If you have feedback on what I've created here, let me know what you think of the overall image, because I'd love to see what you think about it. If it's, I just made this and I wasn't sure if it was any good, but I want to make sure. I'd love to get your feedback on it if you like it. All right. All right. So let's see what people are saying out here. More people are talking. So Steven says, in my companies, I acknowledge what people do and leave them headroom, allowing them to think and provide insights of what can we do better, and give them credit for the insights individually, not through their manager. This is one of the biggest disconnects, a voice as a participant and recognition value. Yeah, man, Steve, that was brilliant. That recognition, giving people recognition, giving people a voice, and something beyond their manager, beyond overall for the whole team. Taking the time to do that, even on a weekly basis, whether it's gratitude, appreciation, or Scrum, that can be so powerful to create more engagement in the workplace. I think that's a great idea, Steve. So I really do appreciate that. That's fantastic. Another one. Douglas says, challenging work. Get off your ass, meet people in other departments, introduce yourself, ask them what they do. Listen, don't try to sell yourself at this point. Just be present. That's a good point. That's a good point, Doug. Yeah, I mean, part of it, we just sit there and, we're not challenged, but, go up there and meet people. And next thing you know, actually, I have a story I did this actually. I was working on a job. It was a summer co-op after my MBA. And it was feeling a bit mundane. I went to another floor and talked to somebody, and pretty soon I liked what they were doing. And then I pitched, and then after a couple of conversations, they said, would you be open to actually helping with this project? I said, sure, I would. They talked to my manager. And next thing you know, they talked to my manager, and then they set me up with having 2 managers in a matrix position, which was a little bit complicated. But it was really great, interesting work. And so I was able to actually change that. And so I felt like I had a voice. I felt like I had recognition. I felt like I had alignment with what I was trying to do and creating value work. Because, there's a great, model by Dan Pink that talks about when people are they feel like they're contributing and they're engaged and they're motivated. There's a satisfaction that they get from that work. So it's important to create that kind of satisfaction that you want, right? So I think that's important. Let's see. Stephen also says, agree. I worked across all departments and got shut down and totally could not help them. Yeah. When people work in silos, they'll shut you down, and that becomes a huge issue, I think, for a lot of different organizations. That's why a lot of the work I've done when I've gone to speak or do some training, I talk about breaking down silos and how do we communicate with each other in a much better way. Elizabeth, you always bring good topics and insight. Thanks, Bobby. Hey, thanks, Elizabeth. I'm delighted that you think so. Let me know if you have other topic ideas for me to cover in the next while, because I would say honestly for the last month I've not been consistent with this, but now I'm trying really hard to be much better at it. Douglas Matrix, awesome work for me. Steven says the word that encompasses the whole picture is collaborative culture. Yeah, like if you look at the 3 different things that I talked about, right? The 3 areas which people disengage. One, they don't engage because they disengage because they don't feel part of a community or a family or a team. Number 2, they disengage. Now I'm forgetting what I said. Number 2, they disengage because of the toxicity in the workplace, toxic boss, toxic manager, toxic colleague, things like that. And number 3, they don't find they're getting great value in the work. They don't feel like the work is providing value for them. It's not challenging enough. It's not interesting enough. Or they're doing more of the disinteresting stuff than they should be. And again, this all relates back to culture, right? So are we creating a culture that's community, family, team? Are we creating a culture that is, not toxic, growth mindset, open for growth? Are we creating a culture that gets people to reach their full potential and to take on projects that align with who they are? So that to me is so important. And collaboration is key, as Elizabeth says. And Douglas, I get out of breath listening to you. That's funny. So we've had a really good discussion here about the different ways in which employees disengage and the 3 reasons that they do. What are some of the things that you think that people disengage? Comment below. Do you have any particular questions around engagement? Let us know. You can comment now or you can comment later on. I'm happy to help you and share my thoughts. I'm also happy to have all the people that are listening to this call to also share their thoughts and insights because, we have a really good community here. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing the Power Connection chat and the live chat, because I'm trying to build community. I'm trying to help people with their careers and with their teams and with their employee engagement. I'm trying to help people to, create better work environments and better corporate cultures. So if you want more from me, you can check out my links below, which is, my website, round.com for speaking, my dypb.ca website for personal branding, and then of course my LinkedIn profile if you want more employee engagement tips and consulting and things like that. As Douglas says, as a takeaway from this conversation, maybe a task we should all do is ask our direct reports, what can I do to help you? Yes. Okay, I love this. A call to action by Douglas. I encourage all of you who listen to this broadcast, go to your employees right now and say, listen, what can I do to help you? What can I do to help you work better, to be more engaged, to, you're probably already really engaged, but I want to make things better. And then listen. Don't talk over them. Listen to understand, listen with empathy, listen to connect, listen to their story, and show that you're someone that wants to support them and invest in them as a manager, as a team, as a company. That's really important. And as Stephen says, a community is by its nature done right is collaborative. Absolutely collaborative. We're not stepping on toes. We appreciate the input of people, outside feedback. We know what we have to do. We're clearly aligned with our tasks. And Elizabeth mentioned growth mindset is huge, and so is change. People have to be okay to change. If the environment doesn't promote that change, what changes? That change is good. It will turn people away from engaging. Yeah, change is the one constant, right? We're always changing. We're always growing. And I think creating an environment where change is acceptable, it's understandable, it's embraced and created, then I think you're going to be in a much, much better situation. And I'm really big on the growth mindset, right? It means that you're willing to take critique, you guys seek feedback. You don't see critique as a threat. You see it as an opportunity to grow. And again, and this all goes back to culture, right? We're constantly going back to the same topic about culture, which I think is a great topic. Might be a good topic for next time. But employee engagement, I think, covers a lot of different things. It covers leadership. It covers teams. It covers culture. It covers experiences. It covers customer experience. It covers user experience. So if we can create ways to get that engagement, that's great. So I think for now, I'm going to close the chat today. I'm glad there's so many people joining in. If you have other questions or other comments, comment below. Tag me, tag other people. I'm happily willing to answer all the questions you have. And because today is Wednesday, I'll be back on Friday. The plan is 8:45 a.m. approximately. Usually between 8:30 and 9, I'll come on board and I'll share a topic. I'm going to try to get more and more people to interview as well as part of this Power Connection channel. Hope you like the screen I created for you guys in terms of the header and suggestion box. Yeah, I like the suggestion box too. Great idea. Thanks everyone for sharing, participating with all your great content. Have a wonderful week, and I wish you guys all the best. Anyone want to contact me or need me for more speaking or consulting, just reach out to me and DM me anytime. I'm happy to help you with your professional needs. All right, thanks so much, and we'll talk soon.